That night, I felt completely alone, but I was wrong. The house was silent, but it was a silence that penetrated your soul and made your hair stand on end. My mother had just come out of a long hospital stay. Her body was tired, her spirit broken. The pain she had endured during her days in the hospital had worn her out both physically and mentally. The doctors had said, "Her recovery will take time. She is very weak, both physically and mentally." But she was trying to maintain her usual strong demeanor. That evening, she was silent, not saying a word. She tried to eat, but not a single bite went into her mouth. Every movement was slow, every glance was distant. It was as if the world was spinning around him, but he was content to just watch it. I stepped out of the room for a few seconds. My sister was looking for something in the house. The silence was so thick that it felt like time had stopped. Like the house wasn't breathing. This silence was brief, but it was a silence that felt like death. First, a faint clicking sound, then a thin sound like something scratching, and then screams. I rushed into the room. The scene I saw was something I will never forget for the rest of my life. My mother was hitting herself, her body moving uncontrollably. Her eyes were completely rolled back. It was as if there was something else inside her body. She wasn't choking. This was different. I immediately tried to get her into a sitting position and made sure she wasn't choking on her tongue. But she was attacking me with her hands, biting me as if she were going to tear my fingers off. My heart was racing, and I was frozen with fear. I can't describe the panic I felt at that moment. Every second felt like hours. Then, suddenly, he stopped. His eyes were gone. He was dying, literally. In a panic, I opened the door and screamed for help. The neighbors came running and called an ambulance. But at that moment, his eyes suddenly came back. And that look, it was a look that was almost impossible to describe. My mother was looking at the kitchen door, as if she were talking to someone. But her words were unfamiliar, spoken in a foreign language. The words seemed to come from an ancient language she had forgotten years ago. It was natural, fluid, and terrifying. She kept repeating her grandmother's name in a way I couldn't make sense of. The depth of her voice, the rhythm of the words. Everything was so unsettling, pushing the boundaries of logic. Every object in the house seemed to move as if it were alive, and the shadows expanded and contracted. The colors of the walls faded, and the light in the room turned to darkness. The weight of that moment was so intense that it was difficult to breathe. My hands were shaking, and my heart felt like it was about to burst. But at the same time, I had to protect my mother. I couldn't lose contact with her. An ambulance had been called, neighbors had arrived, but I was still stuck in that room, trapped in that moment. The ambulance arrived and rushed my mother to the hospital. There, she behaved unrecognizably for 3 days. She was aggressive, didn't recognize anyone, and spoke in a completely foreign language. The doctors initially tried to find a medical explanation, but nothing made sense. She became more unconscious each day, words spilling randomly from her mouth. We tried to understand her speech, but there were no familiar words. The coldness of the hospital room, the antiseptic smell, the coming and going of people. It all felt even more surreal to me. It felt like we were trapped within 4 walls. The hours dragged on, and the light in the room changed every second. By the end of the 3rd day, my mother's body was still aggressive and speaking in a foreign language. The doctors were still saying, "I think she had a stroke," but I didn't believe it, because what we were experiencing was an irrational fear that didn't align with medical explanations. The 4th day came, and everything had changed. My mother woke up, talking as if nothing had happened, smiling, even teasing us lightly. She looked at us as if to say, "Why did you leave me alone?" She remembered nothing. The events of the past 3 days were gone from her mind. That look. There was still something hidden in that look, but she wasn't aware of it. I, on the other hand, was still struggling to get over that night. I remember the moments I was alone at home that night. Every shadow, every sound, made me feel like I was being watched. It was as if an invisible person was watching me from the corner of the room. It was as if the house wasn't mine, but belonged to another entity. The fear was the kind that seeps into your veins. Even breathing became difficult. Every step I took, every movement I made, seemed to race against the shadows, every corner reaching out toward me. That feeling, it was real, and there was no escaping it. That night had started off badly. When I first met Benjamin, he was quiet and calm, but that evening, something in his room had changed. I knocked on his door. No answer. When I stepped inside, I didn't see him, but from somewhere in the room came a muffled, unsettling breathing sound. At first, I told myself, maybe he's asleep. But the rhythm of that breathing was nothing like a normal human's. It was deep, heavy, deliberate, as if something else was using his body. "Benjamin?" I called out, no response. The breathing didn't stop. If anything, it felt like it was coming closer from within the room. My fear grew. I took a step back, but my body felt frozen, refusing to move. Then, suddenly, Benjamin's eyes opened, locking on me. But those eyes, they weren't human. There was a dark, empty void in them, cold and piercing. Whatever was controlling his body spoke using his voice. "Come here." I felt myself unravel. This wasn't Benjamin. It was something wearing his voice. His hands slowly rose, fingers stretching toward me. But his movements weren't natural. There was a strange, broken rhythm to them, like a puppet being pulled by invisible strings. I couldn't breathe. My heart felt like it was going to explode. I stepped back slowly until I was cornered. He spoke again, "Don't move." But it wasn't Benjamin's voice. The thing inside him was speaking. It felt like something long suppressed had been set free. In that moment, I realized whatever was inside him had taken full control. Then it moved, fast. Benjamin's body snapped toward me with sudden, sharp motions. The scream that came out of him was torn, broken, something no human could make. I grabbed the door handle, desperate to escape, but my limbs felt sluggish, heavy, as though my mind was disconnected from my body. As he closed in, I finally managed to wrench the door open. I ran without looking back, only to hear footsteps pounding behind me. My heart raced so violently I thought it might stop. I sprinted until I found a hiding place, cramming myself behind a large trash container. "Come out, my dear friend," his voice echoed through the night. I held my breath, terrified he would hear me. When he finally turned away, I bolted, running as fast as I could until I reached the nearest police station. I told them everything. A few hours later, they took Benjamin away and admitted him to a hospital. I knew then he wasn't himself anymore. I don't know what happened to him after that, but I'm certain of one thing. Whatever that thing was, it's not done with us.